Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something I haven't done yet, and that's a question and answer. I ask for questions on YouTube and over on Instagram, so if you don't already follow me there, that's where I post the majority of my work. And there's also a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I post in my story there as well, which is where I ask for the questions. But without wasting any more time, let's get into the first question. Big Boy Bricks asks, what are your personal ways of overcoming creative blocks and barriers? I feel like this hasn't been as much of an issue for me as of recently, but around a year ago, I found it really hard to create anything. And looking back at the time, I didn't know why, but now I realize because a lot of what I was creating, it was just things that I was not very passionate about. A lot of it mainly was Star Wars, and I do love Star Wars, but at the same time, there just isn't the passion there currently that once was. So I would start something and it was hard to finish it, and when I did finish it, it felt like I wasn't really satisfied with the end result. So stepping out of my comfort zone, as you will, for themes and exploring new ideas in the Lego medium has really helped give me a new sense of creativity, because I've never felt more creative and I feel like I have more ideas than I have time currently. CP Brick Builds asks, where do you edit your photos? And I use a mixture of GIMP, which is a free online software, and Photoshop. Gannon Laney asks, ultimate goal in life? Have a meaningful impact and make a difference in the time that I'm here. Gannon Laney also asks, favorite hobby besides building? Definitely soccer. That's like the one thing I feel like I'm also as passionate about. Third question from Gannon Laney, when did your love of Lego start? I already know, but for the video. Well, if you already know, I'm not going to answer it. Just kidding. Some of my first memories growing up were playing with Lego with my siblings, my parents, my friends. And honestly, it's just been something that I've always had there, really. It's been pretty important to me. I fell out of it for a few years, as one does in middle school, late high school. But then during COVID, I really got back into it. And ever since then, for the last 5 years, it's been a pretty important part of my life. Jack Thomas asks, biggest art inspiration? Mac Miller. Definitely Mac Miller. Tommy G asks, when did your love for Lego mock building develop? What and who influenced your inspiration, and how do you plan to keep that love for Lego going instead of falling into the feeling of it feeling like a job? That's a good question. I kind of just briefly touched on the love for Lego and how that developed. But mock building, that's just something I've always loved as a kid, just building my own creations out of the pieces that I had at the time. Back then, it wasn't a sorting system like I have now. It was just pulling pieces out of a bulk bin and just making do with what you got. My inspiration for mock building comes from a variety of different places. There's really no one spot I could pin it down to. There's another question coming up regarding inspiration, so I'll elaborate further once I get to that one. And how do I plan to keep that love for Lego going? Honestly, kind of like I mentioned before, just continually pushing myself to step outside of my comfort zone and explore new themes and ideas. Because not only does it push me outside of my Lego comfort zone, but it also challenges my own beliefs, my own personal beliefs. And I feel like that way I also grow as an artist and as an individual. Chaz asks, how much for death sticks? You don't want to know how much the death sticks are. Go home and rethink your life. Mitch asks, where do you take inspiration for your mocks? Honestly, with this one, it's really just day-to-day life. I try to keep myself open when I'm out and about living life. And sometimes it's a building that inspires me, a conversation that inspires me, a piece of music that inspires me. Just something that evokes an emotion in me that I then want to try to capture in Lego. I also really enjoy scrolling Pinterest. That's probably my biggest source of visual inspiration. So I'd recommend doing that too. That might be something that helps you if you're looking to getting into mock building. Part Parakeet asks, what themes are you exploring in your builds? It's honestly all over the place. If you look at my work that I've put out so far, I'm currently at a point where I'm really trying to find out what my style is and what the themes I want to depict going forward. I'm sure it's going to be all over the place in the future, but at the same time, this question could be interpreted as either themes like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, themes within Lego, or more so artistic themes. I don't know. That one's kind of hard to answer. Nothing is currently coming to mind as a definitive word. I just almost try to let my work leave an impression. because a lot of what I find to be enjoyable in art is the emotion that you're left with after viewing or experiencing the work of another artist. So I don't really know if that answers the question very well, but this is something I have to think on, because right now everything is currently just, I'm reading these almost for the first time. I haven't really thought too much about them. I kind of wanted the reaction to just be raw and just give my first take. Xander Rocco asks, how do I find more inspiration for mocks? Like I mentioned before, just being open and allowing yourself to take inspiration from the world around you. View every opportunity in life as a means for inspiration. And again, I think that comes down to what you're trying to capture. Because like I said before, for me, it's almost trying to put an emotion into Lego. And if that's also what you're trying to do, just allow yourself to be open, really. Hopefully that answers that question. Purge Bricks asks, what got you into Lego? What is your favorite theme to build? Like I kind of mentioned before, Lego has always just been something that's been there. Again, those are really some of my first memories. So it's always been there and I've always loved it. My favorite theme to build, anything with nature. I feel like that's a pretty prevalent theme throughout my builds. And I guess that also goes back to, I believe it was Part Parakeet's question, who asked, what themes do I like to explore? And anything revolving nature, I feel like that's definitely what I enjoy the most. And then Lil South asks, I'm new to mock building, love your channel. Thank you, I really appreciate it. What parts should I start investing in getting first after sorting my own collection? What are your best ways you found obtaining useful mock parts? Knowing what you want to create first and foremost, I think is pretty important. When I first started sorting my entire collection, I went and bought a lot of pieces that I saw other people using. And now I haven't really used them much because I didn't know what it is I wanted to create. A lot of them were for like Star Wars mocks, which I don't really typically build as much anymore. Whereas like now, mainly it's nature themed. So Bricklink really is, I'd say, the main place to look for pieces. I spend a lot of time on Bricklink each week, just looking at new pieces, looking at new colors, just trying to find inspiration there too, seeing a useful piece that it might be like, you know, I really want to use that at some point. If you do have an idea of what it is that you want to start building, feel free to send me a message over on Instagram. I'll be more than happy to help you. And then Lil South also asks, how did you come up with your system for sorting your parts? How do you organize them? I'm going to make a full video on this at some point in the near future. I've just really been waiting for the moment where I feel like everything is the way I want it to be, because my system is very much a living, breathing system. I change it regularly, but I'm at a point now where it's the most set up I feel like it's ever been. There's been a lot of trial and error getting to this point. It's been like 2 years now since I really have been like fully into mock building. And I honestly just think finding out what works for you by finding out what doesn't is the best way to do it. And you know, that also transcends Lego and applies to just life as a whole, because there's no one right way to do it. It's just whatever works for you and whatever inspires the most creativity and gets you in a place where you feel like you can just create without much thought. So yeah, that was all the questions. If you were one of the people whose question I answered and you want more in-depth thoughts, feel free to send me a message on Instagram or just drop it in the comments. That works too. But yeah, thank you again, everyone who asked me questions. This was a lot of fun and I definitely want to do another one. So be on the lookout for when I ask for questions again. That's going to be it for me. So thank you for watching, and thank you for the people who ask questions, and I'll see you in the next video.